Hey everybody, today we're going to be doing NEWSBOSS basics and how to enter stories. First, we're going to want to go to the main NEWSBOSS program, that's the red icon. Double click that to open, then enter your username and your password. And here is the main NEWSBOSS screen. As you can see, it's split into three parts. The first part is this upper left section here. This is your queue tree. This is where all the queues that get made, be they for stories or newscasts, will go. And as you can see, it's a tree because they break down into different branches. Now, your particular branch is going to have your name on it, your username, and that's where you're going to be doing the majority of your work to enter your stories before they're finished and you decide to share them with everyone. Down here, this lower left space is the story list. That's where you're going to be able to look at all of the stories that are in the system on your market and in others. And if we click on Kalamazoo here you can see some of this afternoon's stories right here, all in one big list, and you can just browse right through them. And it should be noted that the stuff you put into the story list in the markets, be they Coldwater, Holland, Kalamazoo, Lansing, wherever, they will be automatically archived. However, they will disappear from the story list after 96 hours. So it'll be there in the system, it just won't be right in this handy window right here. And lastly, over here on the right-hand side, there's the workspace. This is where you're going to be doing the majority of your work. Now, each of these breaks down into two different uses. This one up here, the queue tree, will let you save your stories and your newscast scripts and let you look at everyone else's material. Down here in the story list, you'll be able to add your actual stories one by one and enter audio. And over here on the right-hand side, there are two different kinds of tabs. Up here you see that little eyeball there next to it. It means that's the one you are looking at right now but not editing. It's just for observation. That's the I tab. But if I wanted to work on that story, I could double click on it here. And as you can see, there's the story again, except this time there's a pencil next to it in the pencil tab. So if I wanted to work on that story, but I wanted to look at another story at the same time, I can transition between the tabs, no problem. There's the story I want to work on, and there's the story I'm looking at. Now, if the pencil tab is open, that means that story is ready for editing, but if it's just in the I tab, that means it's observation only. You can't mess with it. Now, moving on, creating a space to write. What I mentioned earlier, go back here in the queue tree. You're going to see users, and there may be a list of names or however it's set up on yours, but you're going to want to look for your username. In my case here, S. Harold. And once I've found that, I'm going to want to create some space to write some stories. Now, what I've done here is create a space for stories that I'm going to save by month. You can store yours however you like. It's your organizational system at that point. Everything under your username in the queue tree is strictly for your use. But just for this video, we're going to create a new one. Right-click on your name. Go down to New Queue. Now, this will bring up a whole list of options. The only one we really need to worry about is name. For this, we're going to name it Video Test. And click OK. Now, as you can see, under S. Harold, the username, there is a new branch that has been created called Video Test. So, for the purposes of this video, down here in the story list is where we're going to go next to enter a story. So, this is how to enter a story. Right-click in the story list, and right up at the top of that right-click menu, hit New Story in this queue. Now, as you can see, off to the right in the workspace, it opens up a new story. There's the pencil tab, but it doesn't have a name yet, so the first thing we're going to do is give the story a slug, in which case here we are going to name it Video Story. And there you can see it's added it up there, and the tab has changed to pink, meaning that something has been edited. If I want to save it, that's the save button there, it turns green, meaning nothing's changed. So we'll come down here, and as you can see, works just like a word processor. If you would like to bold something, underline it for whatever reason, all those options are available up here, italics, what have you. And that's just how you enter your copy, the same way you would write it in Microsoft Word or something else. Now, the other key part here is how to enter audio. Very simple. Let's say you have this here, and we're going to put our tagline there. In the middle, we want to add an audio cut in the middle of our story. Right-click in exactly the space where you want it. Give it its own blank line. Right-click and hit Insert Audio Cut. Now, your library may be different. We have to sort this part out yet, but over here in Kalamazoo, everything is stored in our Metro Source library, so let's just go ahead and grab one of the latest updates from the wire service there. And now that we've chosen the file that we want, click Insert. Now notice the window doesn't close. We clicked Insert, and the audio cut is there if we look, but in case you wanted to add more, you can. Most cases you're not going to. So simply click Close. And there you are. There's the audio cut right there, sandwiched in between the two lines of copy. Now, absolutely important, the most important part of entering a story, once you have everything written in and you have your audio cuts added, be sure to click Save. Now there you go. Again, the pencil tab turns green. That means nothing has changed since the last time it was saved, and you'll see that the story has shown up now down here in the story list. And if we close it, it hasn't disappeared. Notice in the I tab here, we haven't selected anything from the story list, but if we select this, there's the story that we just put together. Now, assuming that that story is done, all done, this is how to share a story. Come down here to the story list, and there's your finished story. Right-click on it, and select Copy To. Once you've done that, it'll bring up this, and that, as you can see, is the Q tree from earlier. There's your usernames, anything else that might be in the way. However, the ones that we want to share are the market names. Once you place it in that market name, everyone else can be able to view it. If you want to log in to NEWSBOSS on your end and look at what we're working on in Kalamazoo, all you have to do is click Kalamazoo and you'll be able to see our story list. Pardon me. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to move it over to Kalamazoo. There. Now, as you can see, nothing here has changed, but if we go back to the Q tree and take a look, right there is the story that we just worked on. Now, if you would like to get rid of a story, simply right-click on it and click Put in Wastebasket. If you do that, it works like the recycling bin on the Windows desktop, and you can get it back by coming down here. As you can see, there's some stuff that we worked on over here that we said, no, we have a better version, or we had an update and we wanted to get rid of the old one, but we didn't want to necessarily delete it forever. So it just wound up in the wastebasket. That eventually will empty itself out. Now, if you have something that you would like to get rid of for good, you can right-click on it, and better than a wastebasket, just click Shred Story. And you notice if you click that, it warns you first, shredded stories cannot be recovered. Would you like to shred the selected stories? Well, in this case, we only have the one story selected, so yeah, get rid of it. And it's gone. And that is the NEWSBOSS Basics and how to enter a story.